Good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing? It's Sunday. The weather is acting subpar because it is going to get colder, family. Because guess what? We in spring with remnants of the fall. But does that surprise you though? No, no, no. I'm not being a pirate. This is not like I just came off a boat and I got some booty. No. Actually, I just got this on my head because I'm trying so hard, family, to maintain my dress. I'm trying, but I don't know. This go around, it's been a little tedious. And my patience is getting a little thin because I know that it's an investment, and the greatest investment is time with anything. But before I go into my little spiel, because it's been a minute, because I want to tell you about some of the things that I had to do on my end, I'm gonna throw this message out right off the top because I do I do try to be punctual with with your comments. I try. I try very hard. Actually, I used to respond real time, but we all have obligations, don't we? Right? You got a life. I've got a life. You got bills. I got bills, and you got to be where you need to be at, right? Okay. Okay. We're on the same page. Now, right off the top, JL, consider holistic. What you might be seeking may be there and may be able to take care of what you long for. Okay? Do the research. You'll be surprised what's out there. Um, this morning, I felt compelled to go on my channel, come on here, and just like you have you have your feeds for your channels that you watch YouTube on or recommended. And there was this young lady um, talking about some things pretty much were very synchronistic. So as I've done with everybody, I invited her to my channel. Each one teach one, right? That's what we're supposed to do. We shouldn't feel ashamed to want to enhance somebody's understanding because guess what? That's what learning's all about, right? If it wasn't important, why would we have what we know as education? Why would we have what we know as history? But we also know what's most important is interpretation of what is being consumed. That's for somebody. Not everything is supposed to be consumable. Some things are put out there just for you to be aware, maybe to strengthen your vigilance. And that's why you'll notice that we're the narrative, the social narrative of society is more or less on full blast or mass consumption of just a couple clicks away, it's right there. And then we wonder why we see the effect of our economy in regards to brick and mortar, brick and mortar buildings, businesses. You know there's a caveat to that, right? But you know there's also underlying agenda to that too. Because just as the buildings go away, so will the structure of what makes your memories fade, which will do what? Become you, turn everybody into introverts. Which, how do people come to the point of becoming introverts? It's by allowing a foundation of insecurity. Because if I have no social skills, how can I understand or interpret the environment I'm in? Which makes you vulnerable. It also makes you pray too. No, I'm not talking about giving praise to the Most High, the one of many names, the Alpha and the Omega. And with that being said, I saw somebody uh, put a story out there about the influx of the younger generation turning their backs from faith. Of course, they wanted to monopolize it and say church. But you can have church in a parking lot. You can have church in a Walmart. You could have church anywhere. Because all it takes is for you to congregate with like minded people, to raise the octave of your spirit. That's for somebody. Because what's going on in this family, everything that you built your life around, just like those Jenga blocks where you don't see it, they're being pulled from you. And that's where I wish I could come up. I have that perfect analogy, and I cannot think of the term. Um, what is it? I can't think of the actual scientific term for it, but it's like, you were raised to see things a certain way. Okay, you got to work with me. Got to work with me. You know how there were certain brands. Okay, here you go. We'll use the catchphrase from Forrest Gump. Life is like a box of chocolates. We've always been raised from hearing that through the media, that's what it was. But actually, if you look at that snippet, it's different. But socially, we were taught to accept it in another way. Same thing with certain brands like McDonald's. McDonald's used to have a different way of how they spelled it. Now, depending on when you were born, you only know it as what you see it is. But folks like myself that have been fortunate enough to be on this planet a little longer, we remember how it first was. Because it was different. You know? And that's my point. Socially, everything's being streamlined. And it's being streamlined for a certain narrative. And the bottom line, everything's about money. We know that. We know that. At the end of the day, bottom line, it's about that dollar. And how people go about obtaining that dollar. And the choices they make to obtain that dollar. But at what cost? At what cost does the impact have for you, your life? The effects of choice. And I realized that for myself, that when you hear people use certain descriptive words to justify choice, it indirectly will either cause you to agree or it will cause you to feel a certain kind of way. That's why you got to make time for yourself. Y'all hear those birds chirping? I don't know. Let me turn these. Okay. I hope you can hear me better because I'm talking through my phone. And first of all, how was your week? Did you have a good week this week? Or did you have a not so good week? I'm asking you this for two reasons. If you had a good week, stay the course. That is nothing but the harvest of words and actions once spoken. You'll come to understand that your life is just like someone taking a stone and throwing it in a puddle, or uh, um, it's okay. It's like somebody taking a penny and throwing it in a well and a fountain. If the water's still, it's going to make a ripple effect. The impact is the action. The action is you. But guess what? If the action was not in the best light of you, just like words, eventually they will come back. That's for somebody. So it does not benefit you to wake up this morning in anguish. It does not benefit you to go to bed in anger. It doesn't. Because all that does is prevent you from what you rightfully deserve. Because you're distracted. Now, if you had a not so good week, not so good. Number one, you hear my voice. That means you're alive. And those things that were not so good were actually opportunities to conquer them. And you said, well, Joe, you don't understand. I'm going through some stuff that maybe I'm not suited for, or these are things that indirectly have a connection to my life, but directly, I got nothing to do with it. You realize how many times, and I'm not laughing at you, I'm smiling so that because some of y'all forgot that you do, the greatest gift you could ever give somebody is a smile. It's one of a kind, just like your life. You need to get in the habit of doing that. I say that because if you don't, if you don't, you are going to indirectly set up a emotional foundation for depression to seep in your life. And then the things that you value most will be attacked. The things that you value will start to diminish because it's like a it's like a ominous cloud that you see but you can't run from. And the one thing about depression, you notice the depression does never announce its presence, but it's always felt. That's why there's so many people walking around today that don't like their life, can't stand their life, and they're willing to do anything they can in their power to change their life or have a life other than their own instead of putting the work in. Even to the point that they think that, well, hey, what if I look a certain way, or what if my beautiful skin was not of what it was given? I mean, come on, family, think about it. You were born in this world perfect, and as you progress through life, as we know as age, it's not until the things that you interpret or embrace that causes things to come into question. Think about that. You are made perfect. You are made pure. It doesn't matter if you have an identical twin, it's still your spirit that is yours. You gotta, I mean, okay, because I know there's some people just that they want to call themselves realists. Okay, you're entitled to keep it real, but make sure you have that same energy when you feel insecure. I want you to keep it real, but just know how much power you have when you love yourself. Hmm? You realize how much power you got? But yet, the most powerful man or woman on this planet has a hard time saying no. Why are people so afraid to use that word? You do understand the word no does not mean forever. The word no means under review, because when you use that, you're basically saying this is not of my standard. But this gives the opportunity of the person that is offering whatever it is opportunity to make adjustments if they value you. Who am I talking to? Who am I talking to? Now, if you don't mind, let me blab a little bit about these last 2 weeks. Some of y'all, I put out there, I told you that I had some training I had to do for my job. And I was very excited that I was afforded the opportunity to sit in this training session, because this training session theoretically was beyond my scope. This was like, in other words, this is the type of training that your movers and shakers, your bosses, you know, the ones that are going to tell you, hey, look, you ain't taking leave. The ones that decide how much money you're entitled to for your raises. It was on that level of management. It was a management course. And I remember the first day. The first thing I did when I showed up is I prayed. I prayed in the parking lot, and I asked the one of many names. I said, I know that whatever you're going to show in this experience, just give me peace of mind when it gets a little uneasy. Because I knew it was beyond my scope, but I was not afraid to endure it. Went through those classes. Some of the business vocabulary was so beyond my scope, but I was determined to trudge through it. I was determined to be committed to it. I was determined to see it through. And I had gotten to a point that I was like, as long as I give 100% effort in this experience, if I don't do but so well, at least I know that I tried. And you'll notice that when it comes to the things that matter most for your life, all that's being asked for is that you try. No, I'm not saying skate through it. No, I'm not saying mimic through it. No, I'm not saying fake it till you make it. I'm saying try. Because maybe the payoff is found in the effort of you being transparent with yourself. That's for somebody. Because some of y'all are maybe having a hard time right now because you realize faking it till you make it is a waste of time. Some of y'all may be dealing with the fact that at that time that was a strategy that you thought that suited you actually cost more than the investment of whatever the target audience or focus. That's okay though, because you know what the payoff was on that? The experience. And guess what? Maybe that payoff that you know that you rightfully deserve hasn't cultivated yet and the harvest has not come. That's for somebody. So, whatever it is right now, be realistic with it, adjust your timeline, but stay the course. That's for somebody. Because somebody's like, you know what? I'm only going to give it 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks. And if it don't, the hell with it. Maybe the outcome that you're expecting is not the outcome you're going to get, but the outcome that you will receive will surpass it. That's for somebody. That's for somebody. Now, so I was in this course for 2 weeks, and it was all this hustle and bustle going on, and I felt a certain kind of way because where the course was being, uh, where we were doing the training, I could see the activity of the day to day in my command. And I'm not gonna lie, part of me was observant of what was going on every day. And part of me was like, man, I wish I could be out there with my guys. But then I realized that that was an example as well as validation for them. Because one thing that I could say that is true, doesn't matter if you work a 9 to 5, blue collar, cyber, or even if you are a entrepreneur, excuse me, them fat lips getting in the way. No matter what, whatever has been put in motion is going to stay in motion until it shuts down. Doesn't matter what the occupation is. It's going to keep on going regardless if you there or not. Especially if it's your job, what you know, because I understand there's a difference between occupation, and career. I got that. I got that. I'm back. I don't know what's going on. There's been many a times that I didn't had two part-time jobs to make a full-time salary. Did that. Got to survive. That's what a man does. There's been times I can say that I've I've worked and personally I did not enjoy the job I did, but I still was committed to the job because at the end of the day it was providing me a means, but it also was motivating me emotionally that hey, look here. You're not going to always be here. Stay focused, stay vigilant to the end goal. Maybe the end goal for you is you're going to move. Who am I talking to? Who am I talking to? Your heart been pulling at you saying you need to go on over there. Or you may be saying, I'm ready to get on a plane to parts unknown. That might be your thing. But long as it's true to you, stay true to you. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Because I've been thinking, family, some of y'all may have caught it, some of y'all may not. And that's okay. But a couple weeks ago, I was blessed to have another milestone. Um, and I turned 50 years old. I know, right? I know. I still think somebody messed up my paperwork. I really do. I'm like, don't feel like it. But then, but then again, I hear people. I understand why some people say, "Well, age is nothing but a number, Gerald." Yeah, but that may be true. But what does your spirit say? Hmm. What's your spirit saying? Because if your spirit ain't healthy, your life ain't gonna be happy, and your body gonna show it. Who am I talking to? Now, with that being said, I would be remiss not to speak on this too, because I've been hypocritical too, and I don't. I've been nothing but transparent these last 6 years of my life, and I'm going to continue as long as God gives me the opportunity, because I know that somewhere in the intended time, intended moment, these words are going to resonate to somebody. Never, ever stop loving you. Did you hear me? I know there are going to be times where you feel that you are less than. But let me tell you, you are more than. More. And I'm going to tell you why. Because as long as you stay true to you, long as you stay true to you, what's going to happen is the people that you have touched, the people that you have given access to your life, they're going to yield that back. It might not come tomorrow. It may not come 6 weeks. It might not come 6 years. It may not come until it's time. But it will be just like that penny that you threw in that fountain because you don't see the ripples, the vibrations. Vibrations ain't nothing but a metaphor for actions, choice. But it'll come back. just as well as those words. Mm-hmm. Them words. But speaking of words, when's the last time you told you love you? Hmm? Come on, Kings. Get off your high horse and your machismo when it comes to yourself. You're still that little boy. That little boy still lives in you. That dream is still there. It only gets complicated when you allow the outside distractions. You know what distractions do when they're on the outside? Nothing. They do nothing. They only have validity when you decide to embrace them. It's no different than going to the store and you see that pair of shoes that are $200. They have no value until you buy them or you possess them. So, what about you? What about your mental health? Why is it that so many people have a love affair, or shall I say, I don't even want to call it, I don't want to do a disservice and say it's a love affair, but they have a loyalty to their turmoil. Why? Turmoil you can't eat from. Turmoil will never make you feel safe. Turmoil will never show transparency of your identity. That's why I used to always say to you, do you know who you are? Because if you did, you would know exactly what is needed to be done. I know it sounds corny to somebody. I know it do. Because it doesn't make sense. But it will when it's time. Yes, it will. And I say that with love. I say that with love because the biggest misconception that mankind has done to itself is embrace dogmas, certain beliefs. And and they wonder why there's so much confusion. They wonder why there's so many people today walking around void. They're walking around so void. I'm playing with my phone, sorry. Okay. Okay, cool. But I'm a firm believer, family. And you've heard people say this countless times. The human body was created so perfectly that it can heal itself. I believe that. But I also believe that a clear mind sets it in motion too. Think about it. I used to always ask this question. Why why do people choose to get high? Why do people get high? What's the number one reason? To escape. escape the reality that they're in, right? Now, I'm not talking about from a perspective where there is an injury or you had surgery and there was prescriptive pills put out there like, hey, look, it was used for pain management, right? I'm not talking about that because unless you're part of the 1%, no, I think they said it was 3%. Did you know that there are 3% of the population? Google this. Go ahead and Google it. But there's 3% of the populace that feel no pain. No, I ain't talking about no superhero stuff. No, seriously. And it has to do with your genes. No, I ain't talking about the jeans you're wearing because I know about someone we talking about. Levi's? No. I'm talking about your DNA makeup. I'm talking about that mitochondria. I'm talking about the atoms that make up the tissue, that make the muscle, that make the bone, that make your beautiful organs. When you break that down, it's the molecular structure of your body. But yet, as advanced as we are a society when it comes to medicine, we still aren't. We're still not having the discussion about mental health. Why aren't we? But yet, not to sound condescending, every 30 years, it seemed like there was always an epidemic of drugs, as far as LSD, mushrooms, crack epidemic, opioids. Every 30 years, a certain dynamic of people were affected. Now, the opioid pandemic, because it's a pandemic, is finally having dialogue. Finally. Long time overdue. But I got a question. Who dropped the ball on that? Was it the regulators that first said, hey, this is okay, we can go ahead and allow the general population to have access? Or was it discussed in those business meetings that proposed to sell it? You don't think there was some market research done? Same thing is what a lot of vets today are dealing with in regards to mesothelioma and asbestos. We're talking about it now, but they were using it then like it wasn't nothing, and still they're buildings that have been around 40 plus years that still are not torn down. Why? Here's my point, family. As long as you are not in a perspective where you're your best self, you're not a risk. You're not a threat. And someone's going to try to benefit off of that because they know that until you can get back to one, you can't be a part of the discussion. Not right now. Not right now. And they know that. Now, I don't want to be rude, but I got to use the bathroom. So I'm going to put the phone down. I'll be right back. I'm back. And I said, did you wash your hands? Yeah, I washed my hands. I washed my hands. Talking about being funny. I felt it in my spirit. But the point I'm trying to make is just as the spring is strolling up, slowly but surely, you need to make sure that you make time to smell them flowers yourself. Now, truth of the matter is this. There are going to be some people in your life that are going to try to distract you from smelling them flowers. Let it be duly noted. But you do know the greatest asset that you possess, other than your smile, is your time. And you'll notice as you keep staying the course, staying the path, investing on you, building on you, you're going to have people pop up out of your life that just want to do a, hey, what's happening? That's okay. Stop, smell the roses, smell the flowers, keep it moving. Because you know why people do that? Because they want you to be the distraction. They do. Nah, ain't nothing wrong with catching up. It ain't. Nothing wrong with that. But, you know, within the first 5 minutes, they either on the same page as you left them on, or they have something to offer that you can build off of. Maybe that might be the moment that maybe because you parted ways and it was not on good terms. They just wanted to say, hey, look here, you know, I'm doing all right. You know, I've had time to reflect. Because, you know, silence is a great balancer. It is. Especially If it's a situation where it wasn't balanced, guess what happens? They see your value down. They realize it because they see that what you brought to the table, they can't find anything like it. Maybe it's because of the fact that you were speaking your truth. Maybe because of the fact that genuinely you were genuinely sincere, and they realized that, you know what, I've never had anybody to offer. Because maybe you were the lesson, maybe you were the gift, maybe you were the validation, and maybe that moment, it was the defining moment where they said, you know what, I ain't trying to interfere. I just wanted to let you know that, hey, I appreciate everything and I'm sorry. And they go on about their business. That's okay. Receive it with grace, receive it with humility. That's why you always hear people say, never kick somebody when they're down. They say that for two reasons. They say it because of the fact that a person can only remain in that position until they'll decide to stand up. As well as, here's another thing. It was always said never to judge a person, because you never know, that person may been at their lowest point, and the validation was they're not. They've grown. They're not who they once were, but they've enhanced it. Or in reverse. Because ego destroys people. Pride divides people. Because ego and pride does not yield truth. It divides you from it. That's from somebody. Now, I want you guys to have a blessed week. Just as the weather's changing, so should your life. Don't worry about what has occurred over your shoulder. You can't change that. You can learn from it. And you know what? Even the moments where you are most fearful, it didn't kill you. It didn't kill you. So all that does is give you an opportunity to gain insight, means to reflect, but don't live in your reflection. Embrace it and keep on moving. Because if you don't, you're going to be like so many people today. They think that material status will make up for character. And those are some of the most broken people you could ever come in contact with, fam. They think, well, I got that big house on the hill, and I got everything that you could ever want, but you can't take it with you. I ain't trying to stay on start, because you know what's going to happen. That's all going to do is cause a lot of turmoil with those that are going to be left with the responsibility of your story. And come on, family, ain't nothing more heartbreaking to see family members squabbling over material stuff. That's exactly what it is, stuff. And then guess what happens to some of that stuff that ends up in somebody's donation yard, ends up becoming someone's asset that they will end up selling. Something that you didn't work hard for. Come on, man. Mm-mm. Life's too short, fam. It's too short. And I ain't trying to sound winded. I looked at this. It's like 50 minutes in. I did get up a little early. But, one of the things that I've always wondered is like, and I spoke on it a couple weeks ago. It's like, how did that person become that bitter person? You know what I'm saying? Especially if they're blessed with life and they end up being the older gentleman, and it just vile. You just want to say, hey, how you doing? Don't talk to me. I'm like, damn, what happened to you? But what you're really seeing is that person is angry at time wasted, time they can't get back. And that could be family. Because I'm going to tell you what, man. Excuse me. When I mentioned to y'all a couple weeks back about, those funerals I had to go to, and sitting in the ceremony, and I was like, I ain't trying to go out like that. I want to be remembered as a guy that loved life, loved those that wanted to be loved, and continue to grow. That means you continue to learn. You're not going to always look. I feel this in my spirit right now. If you're going through some financial issues, you'll continue to go through those financial issues until you come up with a strategy to get yourself out of it. That's for somebody. Sitting up, losing sleep. Damn, Carpenter B. Stressing how you going to make ends meet is only going to rob you of your essence. That's for somebody. Stop sweating about what you don't have. Maybe what you don't have is what you don't need anyway. Maybe you have to reprioritize what matters most. Maybe you might have to restructure the people that have access to your life. Because ain't nobody going to give you nothing. And ain't nobody going to put that smile back on the face. You realize how many... Listen, y'all looking at a man that for at least 15 years of my life, I lost my smile. I lost it. People to a point, they were like, you're always serious, Gerald. You're always serious. Why you don't smile? I didn't even realize that. Yeah, sometimes there are going to be times that it's going to get hard. But when it get hard, that's when you get real. You get real about the things that matter most. Why are you worried about why so-and-so didn't do this for you when that's something you should do for yourself? That's for somebody. So now you feel a certain kind of way because they didn't do what they needed to do, but ultimately the responsibility was for you anyway. Don't be a slave to yourself. Don't be a slave. And when you realize that you don't want to be a slave to nobody, you realize those shackles that were on your feet were already unlocked anyway. All you had to do is move your foot. I say this, family, and I send love to each and every one of you. Because life is like that ripple. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, you're going to have plateaus. Just be present in them. Decide what's best for you. Because you can't do anything when you're gone. Can't do nothing about it. So why are you worried about because Larry ain't call you? Maybe Larry didn't deserve to hear your breath. Why are you worried about being seen with Sheila? Because what she looks like on the outside? And that makes me think about something too, because, and I'm going to get off of this. I thought this was so funny. So, 2 weeks ago, I decided to go to Dave and Buster's. For some people that do not know what Dave and Buster's is, that is a large scale arcade. I know I'm getting ready to wrap this up because it's the second time they didn't shut me up. But Dave and Buster's is a large scale arcade. And real nice, really nice. Got a bar in there. So it's a mix for adult as well as children. So I remember I decided to go about 2 weeks ago, and I said, well, I had a couple beers. I said, well, you can't smoke inside, so I got to go outside the facility. So I walk outside, and I'm away from the door because you have some people that feel a certain kind of way about smoking, and these two guys come out, and they're smoking too. Now, I'm minding my business. It's getting late. So you're starting to see some of the people that came that brought their children and they're going home. So long story short, I'm minding my business and this couple comes out with their children. And they walk out, they cross the street to the parking area. And I think the guy was maybe 50 to 75 feet away from the front door, right? In the midst of the parking area. And all of a sudden, he does an exorcist. And what I mean by exorcist, he turns his head and is looking at myself and the two other guys and grabs this girl's hand in a forceful way, like, come on. And they go on about their business. And I kind of just smiled because I was like, that's an insecure guy right there. Now, notice no one said anything. Nobody, but that guy felt a certain kind of way. And so when they drove off, the one guy saw the same thing. So I said, that's an example of an insecure relationship. And the one guy was like, yeah, you're right. I said, no. I said, first of all, if you have to play the father role in your relationship, you in the wrong relationship. Now, I guess my man felt a certain kind of way because his 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 female was dressed very nice and she's very shapely. But mind you, no one said anything. But it was a great opportunity for me because I said, listen, if you got a strong arm, the person in your life to feel safe, that's the wrong person to be with. You can never build off of that. Because as long as you're in a relationship, the relationship is built off of the behavior and the communication you both share amongst yourself. So that said to me that either there was past behaviors that made him feel a certain kind of way, and or there was some validation from things that he shouldn't have had to deal with for him to respond in such a manner. In other words, if you're in a relationship and that relationship does not make you feel safe, that means the communication is already shot. It also means you can't build with that person. Can you change it around? Yes, you can. But it won't change or be corrected until you change the behavior in yourself first. Ain't got time to strong arm somebody. Why you gotta strong arm somebody to be in your life? Why you gotta do that? You're in the wrong relationship. And maybe that relationship that you really need is the one in the mirror looking back. You guys have a blessed weekend. Like I was gonna say weekend, but it's Sunday. So enjoy this day wherever you are. Place God first in everything you do. You don't call him God, Most High, the one of many names, the Alpha and Omega. Just continue to love yourself because you're worth it. And for that, God's praying for you. And for that, it helps me discern mine. Why? Because you're worth it. Love to hear from you. Be blessed.